promising practices. So this interactive format will allow you to talk, or you could chat questions down at the bottom for our guest, and it's just very simple to do. And today we're going to be talking to people from around the state. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce them, and then we're going to go around and do like a little roll call for everyone. So we have Jenna Moniz, and she's from Atlantic Technical College. She's the Academic Studies and Career Pathway Coordinator. We have Ann Morgan from Pinellas County Public Schools, and she's the ABE and GED Coordinator. We have Nikki Garcia Salzador, the Adult Education Program Manager from Miami-Dade College, along with Sherry Joseph Dutton, the Director of Adult Education at Miami-Dade College as well. And then we have Barbara Cliff and Cindy Brown from Brevard County Public Schools. Barbara is the Career Pathways Coordinator, and Cindy is the lead resource teacher. And so they're going to be able to, all of them will be able to share a lot of great resources with you. I encourage you all to ask questions. It's very informal. And I'm just going to go ahead and let Sherry and Nikki start. So Sherry, Nikki, oh, before we do that, let's just get a little roll call. So say hi first, and then after everyone finishes, Sherry and Nikki will be the first presenters. Okay, so let's just start with the college.
Sherry Joseph Dutton, Adult Education Director, Miami-Dade College.
And I'm Nikki Garcia Salazar with Miami-Dade College, and I'm here at the Kendall campus.
Ann Morgan, ABE GED Coordinator, Pinellas County Schools.
Barbara Cliff, Career Pathways Coordinator, Brevard Public Schools, Adult Ed.
Cindy Brown, ESOL Coordinator, Brevard County.
Okay, let's have the, what is the West Campus? Who's on at the West? Oh, looks like we've got a lot of people at the West Campus. Turn on your mic and say hi to us.
Hi. Hi.
Wow, you've got a big crew over there. Thank you for joining us. How about Seminole?
Hi, this is Seminole State, the Sanford Lake Mary campus. My name is Mirtha Martinez. I am the computer and curriculum specialist for ESOL, and I also have two other colleagues.
Okay, great. And then we have Ms. Wallace, who will be communicating with us via chat, so we'll look for her questions and from her organization and be able to address them that way. And then we have the Pruitt campus. Will you unmute your mic, Pruitt campus? All right, well, we have them here too. So let's go ahead and start with Sherry and Nikki.
Okay, thank you, June. To give you a little bit of background about Miami-Dade College's ESOL program, we're very large. We have 10,000 students that we serve annually in adult education, and 80% of those students are enrolled in ESOL programs. So we're dealing with approximately 8,000 ESOL students on an annual basis. And our program is basically set up that we offer 8-week sessions to accomplish 100 hours within those 8 weeks, and we do have a managed enrollment program. Our ESOL classes are held on 6 campuses and currently on 10 outreach sites. And of course, we do use the CASAS test for pre and post testing, and we're currently in a transitory period for testing where we're going from paper and pencil test to e-test, or the e-CASAS test for post-testing. So the first best practice that I would like to share with you is that the ESOL students that are in our intermediate and our advanced levels are encouraged to participate in the Florida Literacy Coalition Adult Learner Book, the essay book that is published annually for adult education students. And those requests come out in November, and what I do at that point in time is I set up dates on my calendar to follow up with all of the campuses and the ESOL instructors, well, actually all the instructors, GED as well, so that I can remind them in terms of when these submissions are due, and then they can plan their calendars accordingly and work with the students. And it's really a motivational situation where the students can see their submissions published, they're in print and whatnot. So it really helps our students to improve their language proficiency skills and their writing. And what we do here is many of our campuses actually have little ceremonies where these students that are published are actually recognized, and they have the opportunity to share their work with the other classes and college administrators and other officials. So it really helps our students in terms of building their language proficiency. This past year was probably one of our lower years. We only had 8 ESOL students published, but then with the GED, it turned out to be at least 13. So that is one practice that I think is really important to recognize our students and their talents and increase their skills.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be here and to share with all of you some of our best practices and with our director. And another best practice that we have is that we have been able to unify the curriculum. You can imagine having 8 campuses with 11, 10 outreach centers. It used to be that sometimes some outreach centers were using some books for some level, then another campus were using some other books for different levels. So we were able to unify the curriculum for all the levels for every campus. This way, the students will have a seamless transition if they were to move from, let's say, from the North Campus to the West Campus. So that way, they will be able to join at any level, anytime, and they will be able to use the same materials, the same book, and it will be the same curriculum. And one way that, because of our leader, put a team together, and this team was composed of instructors, coordinators, and program managers, and their task was to come out with a unified curriculum and materials that will be used for the entire program, ESOL program at the college. The way they did it is that they invited 5 vendors. They finalized it, they looked at the 5 vendors, the presentations they did, and this team needed to come out with 1 book for every level and everything that we will be using in the curriculum. The committee was put together, they were given a rubric and review the materials, and the recommendations were made for the entire college, and that's how we adopted 1 book for levels, and the curriculum was decided. And this is very beneficial for students, not only because of the seamless transition, but if they were to go from one campus to another, they didn't need to buy another book. They could carry and take their book with them and utilize the materials they already had.
Another practice that we would like to share with you, and this may not be applicable to every place, but here at Miami-Dade College, we have what is known as the Honors College. And the criteria for the Honors College is threefold. An individual has to be a first-time applicant into the college, has to have a 3.7 GPA, whether it's weighted or unweighted, and then be college ready based on entrance exams such as the SAT, the ACT, or the PERT. And we have instructors in our level 7 ESOL classes, which are the CCR, the College and Career Readiness course, that work extensively with the students that have expressed a desire in transitioning directly into the college. And so this preparation includes test prep, writing, and especially mock interviews as well. And the students that are accepted into the program are then invited to return back to the ESOL classes and share their experiences with the other ESOL students. It's sort of that thing, well, if he can do it, I can do it too, type of thing. and the testimonials serve as motivation for the students to pursue the same type of endeavor. Last year, we had a total of 14 ESOL students that transitioned directly into Miami-Dade College Honors College. Not just regular college-bound students, but Honors College. And this year, one of the most recent students to enter the Honors College, I won't share his last name, but his first name is Oscar. And I think he deserves an Oscar just for what he's done. He's 19 years old, and he's originally from Cuba. He began his ESOL studies in level 4, and his desire is to study physics and math. And he noticed that other his peers in his class also struggled with these students as well. So he took his own initiative, and he formed a club that he now organized and meets with after classes in the afternoon. And he tutors his peers in test prep, such as SAT, PERT, and the whole bit, so that hopefully they can enter into the Honors College as well. His teacher has said, and this is a quote, that he's a kind, interested, and focused student who will go very far. And she should know well, because she is mainly responsible for the 14 students that entered last year, and her students have gone really far. In the past, we've had students from this class that have gone through ESOL, through GED, on to Georgia Tech, and achieved their degrees and have actually returned here to Miami and are more gainfully employed than many of us. So we're very proud of her and sing her praises at all times.
Another best practice that we want to share is our career readiness advisors. And this is really a blessing that we have here at the college, because our career readiness advisors work solely and directly with our adult education students, so with ESOL and GED students. They participate in the orientations. They're the ones that will provide the students with the path to the My Career Shines. So they work together with the ESOL and the GED students in terms of completing everything that needs to be done online. And for the outreach centers and the classes that don't get to have computers, we also have a career assessment, the career pathway, that is paper and pencil. And they're able to do it and finalize it. And then the career readiness advisors meet with groups of students or one-on-one, depending on the size, and see what is it that they're interested in, what is it that they want to move forward. Especially the GED students, they're the ones that are have a goal done, bless you, we can help them and guide them as to what will be their next step. And if, like I was mentioning, if they don't have the computer labs, we have the paper and pencil, and we also have it for the lower levels in ESOL. We have it in English, and we have it in Creole as well, in Spanish. And Spanish, very important. And the career readiness advisors, we have one for each campus, and they also work with some of the outreach centers, going out there and visiting them, and making sure that all the different opportunities, the different career pathways, that they're informed and educated about everything that they can do. It doesn't have to be a college degree. It could be an industry certification program. It could be a vocational program. It could be a college credit certificate program. But they're the ones that go out there, meet with the students, and guide them in the process of that career pathway and what will the next step will be. So that's a great best practice that we have and that we have been able to implement it. And our students are really taking advantage of this, and we see a lot of transitions nowadays and moving forward.
I'd just like to add one thing to what Nikki's saying. Nikki actually oversees all the career readiness advisors from the campuses and does a phenomenal job. And she, in turn, with the career readiness advisors, keep close touch with our career source, our local workforce board, and all the agencies that fall under that umbrella. And that's really important, because those students that have been co-enrolled in FICAPS programs and whatnot seek funding and hopefully are eligible to receive funding from the different career source agencies. So this is imperative for us that the career readiness advisors keep that close touch and contact with the local career source that we have here in South Florida.
And they're the ones that also will offer that wraparound support. If they need something specifically, they're the ones that will guide them and refer them to the different agencies that may be able to provide the assistance that they need. And the process of applying to some of those agencies, because we know what they are, but we have met with those agencies before. We know what the process is. We know what the documentation is required in order to be qualified. So once we refer someone, we know that that person is like 99.9% that will be able to get the assistance that they need, because they meet all the eligibility requirements in order for that person to receive the services. So that's in a nutshell, I think, Sherry, what we wanted to bring up today. But feel free to answer any questions that you may have.
I did have a question. How many career advisor? How many people do you have doing that job for Miami-Dade?
We have one per campus, so right now we have 7.
7. So one for each one of your campuses.
Correct.
Wow, that's great.
Yes.
Can I add on to that question? What capacity are the advisors? Are they instructional? Are they teachers? Are they counselors? Are they clerical?
They're like through the state, I know that they call them different things. They call them navigators, advisors, but they're not academic advisors. They are advisors to the college. They're the ones that will provide that transition. So they work directly with the students. They participate in their orientations. They visit the classes and they do the My Career Shines together with them. And they know the different, not only the internal customers, but the outside customers. So they're able to refer to those agencies that they may need or be able to receive services from, but also the different campuses and the different programs at different campuses.
Mm-hmm.
They're not only working with the students, but they're also working with the agencies and with the head of the departments. They do not teach, however, they provide instructors and they visit as guest speakers in terms of giving them resume writing workshops or scannable resume, interviewing skills, everything that has to do with creating a portfolio for them to be able to find placement or get a promotion. They're able to provide with those services to instructors that are within the ESOL and GED program as well.
I have a question, Michelle, in Oviedo, Seminole State. How do you get your ESOL students to go directly into the college? From ESOL right into the college without EAP?
Well, what they're working with the career readiness class is that basically the instructor works together with the students in creating those essays, in working with taking all the preparation and the practice tests prior to them going and taking the PERT test or the assessment test that is required for the college.
And one of the things we've done here on the Kendall campus and hope to expand it to the other campuses as well is we've created sort of a bridge where our adult education career readiness advisor as well as the level 7 instructors work directly with the credit side of the house and the admissions counselors there so that they know exactly who to refer the adult ed students to so that they're not
floating.
Yeah, they're not floating out there in, a black hole or anything like that. But we have created this system where we know exactly which advisor will serve our students and is most knowledgeable about what they have done in adult ed and what they need to do to get into the college.
Now that sounds like something that would make a great presentation at ACE. Talking about that setup. Just saying.
Okay, we got the bug. You put it in our ear.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Nikki and Sherry. And does anyone else have any questions before we move on to Ann Morgan and Pinellas? Okay, Ann, take it away.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. It started out with an IPDAE training. I want to say it was this fall. And Ron Cruz came. He was over in Hillsborough County, and I got permission to take 2 of my best trainers over there with me. And we attended. It was an all-day training on the high impact indicators on the GED exam. And we, of course, took that training. It was kind of a train the trainer situation. So my 2 trainers were now trained. So we came back and we did 2 trainings in Pinellas County for all of our teachers. And that was wonderful. But, you know, my teacher started saying, well, that's great, but are there any lesson plans or anything based on these high impact indicators that we could start using in the classroom? You know, those high impact indicators were 21 areas that the GED testing service identified as not necessarily most missed areas, but essentially areas that a lot of students were missing questions on. So what I did then, I had some grant money, and I hired 6 curriculum writers, just teachers, you know, some with math background, some with science and social studies background, and an English background reading. And we took the 21 indicators. I think there's 6 in math, 5 in the other 3 subjects, so 21 altogether. And they wrote just 1 lesson plan for each indicator. And they're great. They include YouTube videos, they've got extension activities, they've differentiated the lessons for different groups. They did a really good job. We started in February, we finished in May, so I gave them lots of time. We met a couple of times during the thing to find out, you know, what's working, what else do we need to do. Now what we've done is we're going to really do something with these. One of the main projects to come out of this is we're creating a binder, of course, with each, you know, a lesson plan for each one of these high impact indicators. And then they're going to get that at our district-wide training in August. My teachers have been trying them out with their own classes. You know, we've been sharing them among the community of practice. And then actually this week, you probably can't see, but there's all these yellow bags back here in my room. We have a training on Friday. We have it every summer. It's called our Summer Symposium. We invite vendors. We have 7 vendors coming. And my community of practice teachers are each going to be showcasing one of their lessons at this best practices. We also have 6 other teachers that are coming in. They're all going to do a presentation on something that they saw at COABE back in April that really impressed them. So we put this thing together on a Friday, which is a non-work day for us. We're on a 4-day work week here in the summer. And the teachers that come, they can earn a little stipend or they can earn a trade day. So we usually have about 70. We have 98 teachers signed up for this thing Friday. So we have 100 bags here behind me, but, you know, we give them books that the vendors are going to be presenting on and different things. But I'm so thrilled that this community of practice has come out this way. And then one of the other things we were hoping to do, and June, I think, is going to let us do it, I'm going to be cleaning all these lessons up and making sure everything's good. And then we're going to post them on IPDAE. And going forward, some of these, especially in the math area, those 6 in the math are so involved. It's one area like ratio and proportion or something, but it has all these subcategories under it. So there's the opportunity to do dozens more lessons, one for each one of those little targeted areas that they put out. So going forward, we're going to do this again next year, and then the teachers will be able to just keep adding to their binders that they have with these lessons. So it's really turned out to be a great, you know, just from going to one training that IPDAE put on, okay, we're giving you a little love there, and out of it has come all of this, and not just the ability to come back and do the training again, but, you know, how many people do you get to come to the training? Now each teacher's going to have this binder of lesson plans in their classroom that they can pull out, And we're going to kind of see if maybe it makes our passing rate go up a little bit, because they are saying these are the areas. And, you know, the math, it's not surprising. It's, you know, quadratics, but some of it's circumference. Some of those lower level skills, I think, like I said, ratio and proportion is on there. Perimeter, area of solid figures, and all those kind of geometric parts. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the final thing is on this, and if it does make a dent in getting them over that hump of passing the test. So it's been something that we've really expanded, and I think it's a great idea, and it'll be fun to share them with everyone on IPDAE too.
Thank you so much for that, Ann. I'm going to open up the floor, but what a great example about building capacity throughout the state. That is really an amazing testimony about how you took that stuff and then used it and then just, you know, leveraged it out. So thank you so much. Are there any questions for Ann regarding her presentation?
And you had 21 indicators. How many lesson plans per each one?
Well, to start out with, we just did one for the main area. Like, it might say ratio and proportion, but then there were like 5 or 6 little bullets under it. Some of their lessons would address 2 of those bullets, but, you know, especially with the math, it's so laden with scaffolded skills. You know, they're like, okay, we're going to do this, but we got to talk a little bit about fractions too. So there's prerequisites, and they've put extension activities. They've even brought in, you know, these are the pages in some of the popular books that we have that you can use for additional practice. And they went on the internet, and they found, you know, a wealth of additional work and resources that they could put into that lesson. So, and again, the plan always was to kind of keep going with this, because, you know, it takes a while to build something like that, a lesson plan with all the extension activities and differentiated instruction and things like that. So we only have 21 right now, but we're hoping to have, you know, 3 times that by the end of next year.
Wow.
And I have a question. It's Sherry. As your instructors implement these lesson plans to your students, how are you going to track them? Just by number of diplomas, or do you have any other ways or thoughts about tracking?
You know, that you keep cutting out on my end. I did just get a blip up that said that my internet connection was not stable, maybe because of the rain out there. So I'm sorry, I didn't catch everything that you said.
My question was, as your instructors implement these lessons to your students, how do you propose to track whether these lessons are, you know, really in helping the students? Is it going to be by diplomas, or do you have other thoughts about tracking?
Well, that's a good question, Sherry. Do you have some suggestions? I mean, we were just going to kind of look at the difference in our passing rate, you know, how many diplomas we're getting, you know, for how many people take the test, and see if that changes any when we're, you know, after we've started implementing this series of lessons. You know, the teachers are going to continue to do the same prep that they've always done, but this is going to be an additional thing. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week they'll do a lesson or something like that, because they do a lot of individualized instruction and tutoring in our classes. So there isn't as much whole group as you might see in some other classes.
One thought that comes to my mind is utilizing the detailed reports that come from TABE, from pre and post testing, where you have the plus and minuses in terms of the skills that have been mastered and those that are still in progress and that type of thing. You might be able to drill down with that.
Well, that's true. Although a lot of these skills, not surprisingly, are not necessarily ones you see covered in that TABE material a lot. You know, as we know, we're waiting for that new TABE to come out that will be a little more closely aligned with the GED exam we're giving. Right. And perhaps that's why these happen to be these areas that the students aren't doing so well in, because they're not really getting, it doesn't show up on the tape, because how many quadratics are on the tape, or some of these other things. So I'm wondering if that's why we're not even knowing to teach it to them, kind of. Even though it is on the GED curriculum, it doesn't seem to be in that APE level as much.
Mm-hmm. Before and after practice tests. That way.
So Anne, thank you so much for, not only pulling it together, but being willing to share with the rest of the state. We really appreciate your paying it forward in that way. Sounds like a great idea. We can't wait to see the lesson plans. A thought in terms of kind of seeing the rewards of the lesson plans before we see it show up in terms of student achievement might be through observations, teacher observation, and even peer observation. So, so that it's not necessarily from administrator to, teacher, but maybe pairing some of the teachers up to say, hey, come take a look at me as I try these lessons and give me some feedback. And putting it back into PLCs, it might take a while to see it show up in terms of student achievement, but we can see it immediately through modeling.
Right, and that's why we thought, since we're doing this best practices showcase Friday anyway, what a great thing for them to say, hey, because some of my teachers are a little reluctant. They're like, well, I haven't gotten up and taught a big lesson, and, so they're going to be taught. They're going to be the students, and they're going to be getting the lesson, and we'll see how they do. They've picked a couple of hard ones to showcase, so they may even learn something.
Awesome. Maybe we'll have someone at your district training recording. Now we're putting even more.
No, we were talking about that. We still have a day. We might be able to pull that together.
There you go. There you go. If you offer your 2 extra bags to someone, maybe they'll record.
They'll do it for us. You're right. You're right.
Anyone else have any questions for Anne? Well, Anne, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's go over to Brevard County Public Schools now, and because this is a good segue into some great activities and curriculum that they're working on, particularly in the workforce education field. So Cindy and Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Okay. We're working on some EdCamp curriculum. So we were out on the web and couldn't find very much of it anywhere. So we thought we would write lesson plans. So we're going through these standards and trying to create lesson plans on hitting all of the standards to create these lesson plans. And hopefully at some point we'll have them on IPDAE. Cindy, you want to?
Well, yeah, we've been surveying when we've been to ACE and COABE and the other, the Roundup, we've been surveying the other districts, and nobody seems to have anything at all that would be very useful for us to use specifically with these LCAPE standards. So since Barbara wrote for the FICAPS grants, she had the original one last year and then got the ESOL one this year. So we decided that we would use some of that grant money to come up with curriculum for our LCAPE classes that we're going to institute for the
in the fall
for the FICAPS. Just for a little bit of background, we have 4 major centers in Brevard and about 6 outreach classes in our ESOL population, and we are working very diligently to incorporate more and more of the vocational technical classes in Brevard, because previously we haven't had vocational technical classes here. It was strictly for we were separated specifically from the Eastern Florida State College and then adult ed. So working with workforce and working with the college and working with some other community members, we're trying to incorporate more vocational technical classes into adult ed. So when Barbara wrote for the FICAPS grants, this all just fell into place and fit together so nicely. So this is kind of our major project, yeah, for the fall. So.
We also have through the FICAPS grant, starting last year, we implemented a community advisory committee. And we just met at the college yesterday over at Eastern and had about 20 people there. We had people down from Marion County, came down to see what was going on in FICAPS down here. So we took them to the meeting with us. But we have a lot of community programs, a machinist program, we have a computer program, a group of people that are on our committee, and they give away computers to students that need them. And there's no cost, and they do it statewide. And it's a tremendous program. They're all retired engineers from Kennedy Space Center, and they meet every Tuesday and have all these applications for computers that they give away. So it works out really well. They have laptops and regular computers. They have a program called Make It, Take It, which I participated in at one point, where they have a computer basically all disassembled and it's in a bag. And you put the bag on your desk and you meet once a week for 6 weeks for 3 hours, and they teach you how to put that computer together. They teach you about everything about a computer, how to program it, how to do everything. And then when you're finished with the 6 weeks course, you take the computer and monitor and everything home for free and a certificate. So we're working now on implementing a program like that in our school, also in our adult ed programs, so that we can have students that are interested in computers and have them build a computer and take it home with them. And so, I mean, the certificate is obviously locally generated, but it's still, they build one from ground up. And this is one of the people that's on our program, that's on our advisory committee, and we have a machinist, a lady that has a machinist company, and they train for free anybody that wants to be a machinist, and they have a job. It's there's just a lot of things going on within our FICAPS community up here, because we're getting a lot of community help. And
we have a center in the south end of our county, which is Melbourne, and we call it Eli. And this center is specifically for people who are already professionals. When they come over and they've already have a degree of some sort and have been professionals in their own country, and it's sort of it's advanced, but it's an advanced with a stressing getting out a little quicker so that they can get into the community, because the people that go to this center, their biggest barrier is just language. They don't have other barriers, and they want to get into the professional community. And so we just started this program last year, and it's really been very successful. And it's also community populated. The building where we have it is called the Brevard Hispanic Center. The people that own that building put out a bilingual newspaper, and so partnering with that community member, we started this extra program to give additional help to professionals. So, and then we'll be using some of our FICAPS curriculum we're developing in that program.
Another thing that we're doing this weekend, there's 5 of us going to Windermere, and it's a program, I don't know if you've heard of it, called EdCamp, and it's Brad Bell went to one last year and just thought it was great. So we have 5 going this year so that we can hold a workshop using EdCamp best practices. But evidently it's an all-day workshop on Saturday, and they have there's 700 signed up to go. And there are no presenters, there are no topics ahead of time. You get there and a set of bulletin boards are all set up, and people go around and put up topics that they would like to talk about and they would like to find out more about, and they sign up on the bulletin board, and then at the prescribed time anybody on that bulletin board goes to the particular room, and it's just kind of generated. I haven't been, but Brad said it just generates itself when you get in there. Someone generally takes the leadership of and creates the workshop on the go, and everybody participates in it. So they have workshops all day long, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll try it in the spring and see what happens. We'll throw it on the wall and see if it sticks. So anyway, we're trying out a lot of different things and trying to get more ideas as we go along.
That sounds really interesting. We're going to all be interested to hear about that. Can you talk about your articulation agreements that you have with the college?
Well, we used to have a very rigid articulation agreement where we did, the college had everything that was vocational technical, and we had nothing. And this agreement was made, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago between the powers that be at that time. Mr. Wigley was our director, and I believe he was involved in it in the very beginning. And he met with some of the deans over at used to be Brevard Community College and is now Eastern Florida State College, and made this articulation agreement where we would not step on each other's toes. But in the last several years, nobody actually knows where that agreement is or was. And we've been branching out and making friends of many of the people that are in charge at Eastern Florida. And they are actually giving us some opportunities to work in vocational technical, like we're going to begin doing some automotive classes. We're going to be doing some culinary classes. And so I think it's just a win-win for everybody, because in the last 2 years, we've branched out into the community in a very large way. We have Pastor Alliance as a partnership. We have radio stations. We have the college. We've gotten much more involved with workforce. So this articulation, the original, is gone, and we're pretty much gone. And now we're just working with businesses and in cooperation with Eastern Florida so that we can all work together.
Eastern came to us in the spring, early spring, and said that they wanted to give us first choice on the automotive class, that they were not going to continue it. We're starting with it's a 2-year program. We're starting with year 1 in January. Eastern is going to continue with their year 2 because they already have students in the classes. So, but by next year, then we'll also have year 1 and 2. And, but they want out of it, and they want out of the culinary programs. since they've gone to a 4-year college, they're revamping some of the things that they're doing. And it's, so there's more coming. We don't know what it is yet.
We're hoping that we might get into some of the health projects. I know that when we were at the ESOL standing committee meeting, some of the other districts are doing phlebotomy, and some of the other health classes that don't take the full 2 years or 4 years. So I'm hoping, and this is just me personally, but I'm hoping that we can get into some of these like CNN classes or like the phlebotomy, like I said, or some more health fields. So
Health First is working with Palm Bay and Karen Darkile, and South Area Adult Ed with Rebecca Camp, and they're negotiating some classes that our students will be working in the home health care, and where we'll have, co-teachers in the classrooms with them. So, and we've got a lot of things that are going to be starting in January. So, there's just a lot of things going on, and some days it's hard to keep up with everything, trying to, get it all organized and keep up with it and make sure everything's on track. So, but it'll get there. And Mr. Arnott is going to hire a career pathways person this year to kind of coordinate all of the out activities that we're doing. And so, like, this person will be out in the community and working on students shadowing in jobs and going to Chamber of Commerce meetings and working with Economic Development Board. And we have Voc Rehab already on our community board, and they're a big help to things that go on in Brevard County because we have them there. So anyway, that's some of the things that we're doing.
I just wanted to share a quick best practice that I was talking to one of our teachers today, and she found out that a play was coming to one of our local theaters, and she got the book of the play, had all of her students read the book, and then when they finished, they all went to the theater to see the play. And she said it was a wonderful experience. They loved it. And another thing that we have is just a best practice. We have a program called A+ Business Academy, where, again, partnering with the community. But this time, the ESOL students were invited, and they have to be students who are chosen to be part of the program. But they had a graduation the other day, and 3 of our ESOL students in that one class spent about the last 6 months once a week going to a community shelter and feeding people. So they went and they helped with the cooking, they helped with doing the purchasing of the supplies, and then when all of that was done, they actually went and helped serve the people that came to eat. So that the teacher that I was talking to today was telling me how successful that program is. Regions, maybe?
I don't know. One of our local banks comes in and does all the lesson plans with the students. It's an after-school project. It's the Business Academy, and they get plaques and they get all kinds of things when they finish it. But it's a bank that teaches them all kinds of financial things, and there's projects that they have to do, and the students are more than willing to get out there and do it.
They loved it.
They love it.
They really had a good time, and they had a graduation. The reason I brought it up is because I was talking to this teacher this morning, and she was telling me about their graduation and how well they did. So Anyway.
That's excellent. I mean, you know that one of the key areas in Career Pathways is this partnership. So it seems like you have really identified those partners that can really help you in the community and all those wraparound services that are so great. Let me open it up to the floor, and then we're going to go over to Atlantic Technical College with Jenna. But does anybody have any questions for Cindy and Barbara? Seminole, you have any questions?
No questions. We just have admiration.
Very nice. How about, let's hear, oh, go ahead, Mirtha, I'm sorry.
Here. I have a question. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I was just going to go to your campus.
I'm sorry?
No, I was going to ask if there were any questions from your campus, so I'm glad you're coming up to the plate.
Yes, I have a question. Have you had any interaction or coordination with construction companies and your students?
We have been involved in youth bills, with the exception of this past year. Eastern Florida, once they became the four-year college, they did not continue on with youth bill, but we'd had youth bill here for 12 years. And we had the students, we taught all the classes, and we had we took care of all the teaching and the materials, and these students, I'm sure you're familiar with youth bill. And
no, actually I'm not.
Okay, it's a program, it's a grant through the Department of Labor, and it's like $1.1 million, and you have maybe 30 over a 2-year period of time. You have a 3-year period. You have 60 students, and it's all construction, and they take them to the work site every day, and they build. And we were in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, and they would build a habitat house each semester. And so we are in the process now of getting our ducks in a row, and we've already contacted Habitat, and they're willing to work with us, and we're going to put in for the grant next year with Brevard Public Schools, Adult Ed. We're going to put in for the grant. And then we'll have the support from the other side, from Habitat and the college. But we'll have the classes on our campuses and things. So the construction field is, there's a lot of things that students can do in that. So, but we're taking baby steps right now, and we had construction going on, but not this year.
Is there any
In the end, after that program, does the student get an industry certification?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yes, they got OSHA certification, industry certification, and so they had a lot of. And Youth Build it's a pretty large grant nationwide, but it's through the Department of Labor.
How do you handle the insurance issues with students being on a construction site? Have you had any problems or difficulties with students being injured, or in any way the company or the construction site being liable for an injury to a student?
See, the college dealt with all of that, and we didn't get into it. But next year we'll certainly be getting into it and figuring out, what that's all about. But I don't have an answer for that. But Eastern Florida State College, Frank Margiotti would have the answers.
And maybe Sherry or Nikki, I know you've done a lot of work under the construction, career cluster with TramCon. Do you want to address any of that?
Actually, I don't have anything to add about TrampCon other than the fact that they were actually pursuing the Youth Build grant this year. But I've had personal experience with Youth Build when I was at the Wolfson campus, and the YWCA had the Youth Build grant at that time. And so we provided these students with their GED preparation, and then the YWCA took care of the construction end of things. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm assuming that they took care of the insurance. It would not be the college. The only concern that I had with the program is that the one that I was involved in was I felt that there was somewhat of an inconsistency. It was a little difficult because the way the students' schedules ran were they would be in academic GED prep classes one week and then in construction the next week. And then a week later back into academics and whatnot. So they flip-flopped. And I don't think it was the best type of schedule for them. I think there needed to be more consistency in terms of academics and construction, perhaps on a split schedule per day, so that they had that immersion that was and consistency throughout their learning experience.
That's what Eastern did. They had them. They had their GED classes every morning, and then at a certain time, they all got in a van and they were transported to the work site. So they had vans that they transported them in.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yes, and it seemed to work really well. So.
All right, well, I have developed a proposal for high school students, and I guess it would be adult ed students also, to design, build, and operate an American Globe theater.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah. And it involves students who are capable of and oriented toward really complicated things like, metallurgy and structure and architecture.
Wow.
Be involved, as well as students who have perhaps more mundane objectives like pouring concrete. But when I mentioned it to Doug Wagner here at Manatee Technical College, his primary concern was the liability issues for students on a construction site, which generated my question. So to whom would I address those issues? That person at Eastern Florida State?
Yeah, yes, Frank Margiotti.
And he's
the assistant provost at the Cocoa campus.
At which campus?
Cocoa.
The main campus.
Main campus. No, Melbourne's main campus.
Oh, that's right.
At Cocoa campus.
I've got it there. We got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm so glad that Manatee is there. Look at the big crowd from Manatee Technical College. Yay! Do any of you have any more questions? I see John back there too. Hi, John. Anybody have any questions? Any other questions for Manatee?
I'm going to talk to you tomorrow if you're available.
Oh, I'm available.
I'm calling you tomorrow. Talk to you then, June.
Okay, great. And a lot of this conversation reminds me of the FICAPS Institute that we had a couple of years ago. And if you go to the IPDAE website and you go under the FICAP content button, you'll be able to see a lot of these recordings of the presenters there, because a lot of this information you're talking about was presented there. So you can go back and look at that again. All right, well, we better go over to Jenna before it starts to pour down rain, and we don't want to lose connection there. Jenna, I'm going to turn it over to you at Atlantic Technical Center.
Thanks, June. Jenna Moniz and Debbie Gilman here from Atlantic Technical College in what is typically sunny South Florida, Broward County, Greater Fort Lauderdale. And we're going to share this afternoon just a little bit about two of our promising practices. One which is more of a product called the Atlantic Achievers, and two more of our processes or process for celebrating success. So I will let Debbie Gilman share about Atlantic Achievers. Debbie is our lead teacher and reading instructor, and Atlantic Achievers is her brainchild. So I'll let her share more about that.
Okay, so hello, and it's nice to see all of you, and thank you for having us today. It's good to be here. So basically, this project started almost a year ago, I would say last August, and Jenna and I were just kind of talking about ideas that we had about how to make this environment a more inclusive environment, that students want to be here to feel that they're a part of something bigger than just coming to a class every day and trying to learn language or learn math or learn reading, but to really be a part of a school, to give it more of that feel. And one of the things I thought of was that most schools have some kind of a journal or a newsletter. And basically then we kind of just went with it. There's another teacher that I work with, Cheryl Dunham, and we've kind of become the advisors of the Atlantic Achiever. I'm going to call it a newsletter, but really it's become more of a literary journal type of publication. And the goal of what we wanted to do with this was to help students apply the skills that they're learning in the classroom, is particularly language and reading and writing, and to put it into practice. So we have all students of all ability levels. We've set it up as an afternoon workshop, and anyone who's interested in this can participate. So we literally have students who are at the very beginning level of reading and language, all the way up to students that are at the GED level. So anyone is welcome to join. And we found that the students have developed an amazing sense of pride and accomplishment from this. People who thought they could never write. I'm in a reading classroom where I ask them to write and I get nothing. And I'm going to show you in a minute the publications. And I mean, we're just astonished by what they have put forth for us. So what I'll show you first is just kind of an example. I don't know if you can see, but this is what the first newsletter looks like. I mean, it's a beautiful publication. Our first one, for example, we published back in November, and that was kind of an introduction. And we had the students come. We had a the first workshop we had was to have the students brainstorm ideas for what this would even be. What would the title be? So when the students came, they put together 4 titles, and we actually put it out as a student vote to the entire school. So immediately we know that everyone was going to be a part of it. So Atlantic Achievers was the name that was voted upon by the school by a little ballot. So the first issue was really an introduction, and I have to say students poured their heart out. We didn't realize it would be such an emotional thing for them, but students wanted to tell their story. So we have one student, his title, our headline article that time was "Don't Be Afraid to Fail," and it was basically an inspirational piece. We have students that wrote about their life story coming here as students from other countries, and what that experience has been like for them. Personal things they've gone through, some that were heavier, some that were as light as the student talking about road trips they enjoyed. But it was really, really impressive because these students, some of them couldn't even put words down. They came together, they wrote, we would peer edit together. They do the final editing, but when they read it to each other, they sat there, they praised each other. We had some tears in the room, but the students were so supportive. So when we finally put that issue out, we introduced it, every teacher gave it out at the same time, and a lot of the teachers sat for maybe 10, 15 minutes and just let the students read it in the classroom. So I can't tell you how many students got pats on the back from their classmates about this. So what we do generally is we'll have a workshop. So our second issue, the focus, we wanted to work on argumentative writing, which is something they need to learn to do as you're getting toward the GED level. So we did a workshop. We pulled up articles from ReadWorks or Newsella. We presented articles that demonstrate argumentative writing. We read in the class. We even had mock debates in the class. And then the students were able to pick a topic that interested them. So for example, in the second article, we had 2 debating issues. One was, should headphones be allowed in school? And the other was, should earbuds be allowed should eating be allowed in class? And the students had to present their point of view, but they had to support it with evidence from text, whether it be on a website or a book they'd read or even personal point of view. So that was an example of how they put what they learned in the classroom right into practice. So it's kind of a workshop and then practice writing. What else? Oh, our third issue was a really fun one. We conducted a few workshops on poetry, which we combined poetry and art. So we had a whole haiku session. And once we presented some haiku and then we presented art. Cheryl had the wonderful idea of you blow paint through a straw and you created these beautiful trees. But however your tree came out was what it was. But we have in this issue over 30 students contributed. You can't see, but on the front, that's all haikus written by students from the beginning to the top level. We had bio poems, color poems, so this is just filled with poetry. And then again, we did have one more debate issue. And then every time we put out an issue, we have new students that want to be a part of it. So we always get personal stories because, everyone wants to share their story. So basically, I just want to say that this has evolved. Originally, we kind of thought it was more of a newsletter, but it's really turned into more of a literary journal. We do have a mission statement. And in that, we want students to be able to express themselves in a learning community. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. It's been an amazing experience. I have to say, I'm completely impressed with what the students have done. And I've also learned too, because I had to learn how to actually graphically put this together. So it's been fun.
That's amazing. Do you have this electronically?
Yeah, we have it electronically. I was going to say my next issue we're working on is interviewing skills. So this is going to be helping them for the future, but what we would like to do is go out to different people at our school and actually conduct interviews. So they'll learn to be on both sides of an interview.
I'm hoping that you'll share that with some of our legislators in Tallahassee.
Wow.
That's the kind of stuff that they really need to see to get the true picture of what we do and who we serve.
Do you have like a journalism club or anything, or is it just a class?
Well, this is it.
This is the club. This is after class. So in the afternoon, we conduct different workshops.
Okay.
This is a club that students come to. So,
that's great.
Yeah, different students come. We have some that have started from the beginning, but you know how it's very fluid here.
Yeah.
We have new students coming and going. I just spoke with 3 yesterday. This one young man, he turned in an article since we talked yesterday. We had taken a field trip to the Museum of Science and Discovery. He already wrote about his experience there since last night. He was so excited. And then he also, in our talk yesterday, our workshop turned into kind of a small discussion. And he shared some personal experiences about coming to this country after having been raised by his grandma in one place and as a teen coming to live with his dad in America and how challenging that's been. He wants to put it on paper. That's coming from him. And, his English skills are, he's at a beginning level, but he's ready. He put his ideas down and we're going to work together to edit it. So it's incredible.
And I've got to say the Atlantic Achievers has been, an win-win-win experience for, from all perspectives. From the students' perspective, they're not only able to share and sometimes share very personal stories of their own, but, the entire school is kind of bought into this. We share the Atlantic Achievers at our SAC meetings. It's nice, sometimes we've got, folks, and we sometimes have city officials who come by, so they're able to see, copies of it. It's a nice thing for students to then later on say that they're a published writer, and put it on their resume if they will. And we've got art now that, that stemmed from this very educational process, and our art is now all over the place, which is also very beautiful. So in our computer labs, the art that Debbie was, referencing, students are able to see art that other students have created. So while it does absolutely have an academic tie, there's an academic purpose behind it. It's also, I walked into the classroom when they were working on one of their artist pieces, and it was just such a wonderful place and experience of students being able to also, for many of them, I would venture to say, become artists. So it's really been this beautiful experience that morphed from, you know, Debbie's idea of maybe, you know, it'd be cool to have a newsletter into really what has turned into this literary journal. We do recognize our graduates. So in each edition, you know, we make sure, and I'll talk a little bit soon about our process of celebrating success, but one of the small ways that we celebrate the successes of the graduates is to list our most recent graduates in the Atlantic Achievers.
With their quote. There's a quote next to them, what their advice is. So for example, one student said, work hard, don't give up, don't stop, keep going, one step at a time, just remember to relax, breathe, and you got this. So they're giving their advice. I did want to share one thing about the art that Jenna mentioned. One of the lessons that we did, it was a workshop. We didn't actually write poetry, although we'd like a student to write about the artist. We did a workshop about Romero Brito, the artist. So we read about him, a biography. We presented the art, but then we gave each student a piece of paper and markers, and they had to design it. I have to tell you, that was incredible. And I think many of these students have never had the chance to just sit down and draw. It's calm, it's peaceful, and it's, if I tell you, if you came and see the mishmash of types of students that are in here together, it's incredible.
It really was beautiful.
It's really, we forget about that, and they really need that.
How many do you publish per each time? How often do you put one out?
So we aimed for 4 issues this year.
Quarterly.
4 issues. So we've had a spring, fall, winter, and we'll have a summer. So our plan is to get the next one out by mid-August.
And how many do you print?
Oh, so we print a certain amount in color that we're actually able, so I make sure that every student that actually was a contributor gets a color copy. Then we staff a color copy, and you know, we give some out like to SACs of those. Then our student population, we print them out in black and white, so a couple hundred, you know, however many we need so that all the students can have them. But yeah,
we print enough for each student.
So if you provide that link for us, then I can send it out to everyone, and then you can get a clear picture of what it looks like. It sounds really exciting. Congratulations on that work. Does anybody have any questions for Debbie and Jenna? Before Jenna, we turn it over to Jenna.
Not a question, but just a comment. And I don't know why I keep pushing for ACE, but I'm getting so excited about hearing about these things. I want to see more of it. And that would be a really cool presentation. I mean, I'm already thinking about a school that I could approach to do something like that. They already put out a staff newsletter where all the staff contribute things, and it's really nice. And I thought, wow, why not have the students do one? So very cool.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ann. Okay, so, you know, and feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go along. The other thing that we wanted to share is more in our process of celebrating student success. And one of the things that we do that we just mentioned is, you know, kind of shouting students out who have graduated in our literary journal in Atlantic Achievers. But if you were to take a walk down our classrooms here, you would see lots of student recognition in various forms. If you're able to see right behind me, and we happen to be in Debbie's classroom right now, if you look behind us, you'll see a wall, and it's kind of a, you know, kind of in the wall of fame idea. There are tons of small placards or, you know, mini certificates almost, if you're able to see that there. So really what it is the subject and a place for the student's name. So each time that one of our students earns an LCP, makes an academic gain, we put their name on one of these small placards and then post it somewhere that's visible. So, you know, that's one of the ways that is a visible way to celebrate student success. In addition to putting their names on the walls at the ABE level, when a student earns an LCP, we also give them these stars, if you're able to see those. They're pins. Each student on their student, with their student ID, wears a lanyard. And you will see our students all around this campus, both on the adult general ed side, as well as into the technical side. You'll see them wearing these stars. It's amazing how grown adults get so.
And ESOL too.
And ESOL too as well. get so enthused about wearing these stones. At the GED level, we do a similar thing. So these mini placards will then obviously say the name of the subject. So this one happens to be math. So this would obviously mean that the student took and passed the math exam. So their name would go on that little placard and onto the wall. At the GED level, our pins look a little bit different. And if you can see here, this is a subject level pin. I think this is science that's in bolding. So I know it's hard to see, but it's the same idea. It says the name of our school and it says the name of this subject. So on the, and here's actually a little bit bigger picture of it. This is what they look like, each subject, and each subject is a pin. So on the front end, it is kind of a culture that we have developed of celebrating student success. They look to wear their badges. Students these days are into badges. When they play video games, they earn badges. So that's the front end celebratory kind of piece of it. On the back end, it helps us to track student progress. So we have found that in developing this culture that is contagious of, you know, I want my pin or I want my badge for language, helps trigger memory for us. Oops, you know, if it, in the event that it happens, oops, it's time for you to test in math as well. So on the front end, you know, the student is able to celebrate, but on the back end, for us, it keeps us up to date with making sure that they are actually progressing. And then of course on the back end, the data reporting piece is also handled there. When a student, we are a technical college, so our goals are to earn students, you know, to have students earn their high school diploma. And by the way, it's really big in our languaging that, you know, it's been a major paradigm shift moving out of the language of earning a GED to earning a high school diploma. More and more students who are coming to us want to see what that diploma actually looks like. So we have these all over the place, you know, an example of what their high school diploma looks like. And we'll see students come up and look and stare at the diploma, and we know exactly what they're looking for. And so we'll say, what are you looking for? And they'll say, as you know, you all probably know, it doesn't say GED. It doesn't say GED. And so, you know, we've got these posted all over the place. Another thing that we do, a big win for us, obviously, is when we have a graduate. Is when a student earns, you know, successfully completes the 4 GED tests and is a diploma earner. When we have a high school diploma earner, we kind of stop and drop everything that we're doing and celebrate that student. So we've developed this culture of when you graduate, now again, the back end for us is we better make sure that we're reporting the student for having graduated. On the front end, the student is being recognized. So once they've earned that diploma, they come back to us. They come back to us to report that they've completed. We have an entire process. If you can see these pictures behind us, these are all graduates. We have a mock cap and gown that we dress them up in. We take pictures of them. They walk around the boardwalk with, you know, we celebrate them on the boardwalk. We make noise. And then we get on the intercom and say, we're so sorry to interrupt, but we have a very important announcement. We'd like to, you know, please help us to congratulate student X, you know, for earning his or her high school diploma. And it really, truly has just become this contagious, infectious culture of, I want to be recognized, I want to be celebrated. And on the back end, it helps to, you know, to remind us, oh, we better W45 that student. We have different teachers for each of the GED subjects, so it sometimes becomes very slippery. If a student passes their last exam and doesn't come back and report to the teacher, then unless, you know, unless they've clicked that button to say that I allow my testing center to see my scores, we don't know. So we're relying at this point in large part for students to come back to us and report that they've actually completed each. So on the front end, it's, woohoo, let's celebrate you, because also other students see that and say, I want that too. I want to be on the wall. I want a pin. I want to be shouted out. And on the back end, you know, we're not missing them when it comes time to data report them. So their final pin that they earn as a GED completer high school diploma earner is a little itty bitty diploma. So this is a pin that's a diploma. This will actually go on their gown. Our graduation is tomorrow. So we will have lots of students at our graduation ceremony, and they will be wearing pins that say diploma. Students who have earned GED ready, college ready scores or college ready plus credit scores will also wear a special cord. So they will be recognized for having earned honor scores at tomorrow's graduation ceremony. So we do a lot of celebrating around here. It sometimes gets noisy, but we found that to be one of the most effective ways to encourage and promote perseverance and achievement, and also to make sure that we're not letting students slip through the cracks.
That's really good. Two things. Sounds wonderful. And one of the things that one of our centers does when they get on the intercom and say that we have a graduate, and then they play Pomp and Circumstance. And so they start with the music and play, a couple of lines of that, and then they announce the name of the student. So that that's a lot of fun. And then also at our spring graduation this year, as our students came across the stage, as their name was announced, they also listed out all of the certificates they had earned. And so everybody was listening. We had board members there too, and the board members were very surprised that we had, we had 100 students graduate, and then every one of them, they had the ready to work certificate, or they had the, whatever they had done, OSHA. But the board members were pretty impressed with what these kids were doing.
Yeah, and I think, and thank you for that, Barbara. I think we're also in this shift, in this phase now of educating staff and educating the public about the changes to GED and the high school diploma.
Yes.
So, for example, tomorrow, built into our speech that we will share with the audience and board members and such, is a short explanation about what college-ready scores are and what they mean, and what college ready plus credit scores are and what they mean. So it certainly is a shift and an education to everyone, but it's made a huge difference in terms of our marketing, and students who come to us, they want to know that they're going to get a high school diploma, not a GED.
Yeah, you're right.
So those are our two shares. We're happy to share any of those. We'll definitely share out the Atlantic Achievers. We'd be happy to also share out the templates for the placards and the pins. And we thank you all for your time.
That was great. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I think we're all getting goosebumps here. That was just an amazing presentation on so many different components. I mean, talk about your retention. It must be super high at your school too, with all the things of what you're doing to make them feel so great being there.
It's a fun time of year, and it really has become part of the process. I mean, when we were setting up, we were interrupted because there was a graduate knocking at the door. She was looking for her stuff. She wanted her pins. she wanted her pins, and she wanted to be shouted out. So it really has been helpful. And we've got close to 120 graduates, and that's at Atlantic Technical College at our school. Not all of them will show for graduation tomorrow, but we expect 60 to 70 of them to actually come.
That's great.
It's a great time of year. Pays off. This is the payoff time of year, as well as the waterproof mascara time of year too. The stories. I'm sure you all know the stories. These are huge rewards for these graduates.
Okay, let's hear from our guest out in the field. Does anybody have any questions for Debbie and Jenna regarding these pins or diplomas, or I want to wear the pins?
I know. Cool. They're bling bling.
Oh my goodness. Okay, how about back to Manatee or Seminole or Miami or the college, or Ann? Anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, June, but I have a comment. One of the things that we do in our graduation, Jenna, is we solicit from our GED graduates video testimonials, and then we share that in the GED graduation. And most of the students that are selected for those videos are selected by our career readiness advisors, because these are the people that know our graduates best. We actually postponed our graduation this year until August just because it was a competitive year and we didn't want to deal with the age grant and graduation at the same time. So we're doing graduation in August, and we have 466 grads to date in the past year. Hopefully.
And so with our graduation, we do, because we have a high school, a technical high school on our campus, as well as the technical programs. So we're somewhere in the middle. We combine the GED graduation with the adult graduation. So we graduate alongside the technical programs.
Nice.
Some of our students are graduating both with high school diploma as well as their technical programs. So for the first time this year, we're excited. We'll be celebrating some of our GED and Spanish graduates, as well as our FICAPS graduates who will be completing both their high school as well as psychiatric technology, which was our first FICAPS program. So it's a good time of year.
We partner our graduation with the HEP program on our Homestead campus, and HEP is the high school equivalency program for migrant workers. So we include them with our graduates as well, and it makes a real special ceremony for them.
Sure.
And I love your bowl. I think we're going to get that idea. I love the idea of having them walk with the bowl. We don't have that.
It's amazing what $1 store purchase. This is $1 million $1 ball. I'll tell you.
That sounds fantastic. You know, they do see the wall of fame. They want to go on the wall, but we don't have that one.
Yeah, when they get dressed up in their cap and gown and we take pictures of them, we let them have their moment. So then they will walk back to their classrooms and see their former colleagues, give them inspirational thoughts, say thank you to their instructors, and they have their moment. The ball happens to be one of their favorites. We've got noisemakers and such.
We'll send you a picture of the first ball.
Cool. There you go. We'll bounce it down to Miami. How about that?
And again, we're getting a question, Jenna. Where do you purchase those pins? Where did you get the pins from?
I'll be happy to share out the information. I want to say it's a company called World Ed. Can I share that with you later on, June? And we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll have to look at where our quotes are. I want to say the company is. I'll be happy to share that with you later on. They actually tailored the ones that say our school for us, so they would likely tailor that for you. What's interesting is, after we started doing this, we realized recently GED testing services started awarding these badges. So after a student passes one of the tests, they'll get, they will electronically, digitally earn a badge. So this is just something that's, a tangible intel, but I'd be happy to share that out. We can send these templates as well too, if that's something that, you'd be interested in. And of course, the Atlantic Achiever.
Yeah, well said, Jenna. It's a really win-win for everyone. It looks like the teachers are really involved, and you can target some good instruction around those areas that they're missing. All the students seem to be really excited. So congratulations. That is a wonderful best practice. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we're getting to the end of the presentation, so does anyone have any last-minute thoughts or anything that you'd like to share? A best practice maybe that you have at your institution that, we didn't highlight today? Is there anybody that would like to talk about that? Not trying to put Manatee Technical College on the spot? Okay, well, I want to thank all of you so much. I really enjoyed this time, and I'm sure that we all can share those same sentiments. And, look for some new things on IPDAE. We're constantly updating the website with new resources and just some great stuff. There's some great grab and goes that are out there right now. Take a peek at them. They're really cool little 3-minute videos that you can use in any kind of format that you would like. And the e-trainings, you're going to have some new e-trainings up really shortly. So I want to thank all of you very much. Thank you for all your support and all of the great work that you're doing out in the field. It is greatly appreciated by all, IPDAE and the Florida Department of Education. Don't forget, Tammy's giving me the little sign-in sheets. Don't forget to, if you're a host site, just give me the names of the people that have signed in so we can make sure that they get all the material that we've talked about today. So does anybody have anything else they'd like to add before I close it out? All right, well then let's all just wave goodbye and have a
Thank you.
good afternoon. Thank you.
How do you turn it on?